What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another chapter review. It's your boy Reaper coming in at you again. So today we have chapter 296 spoilers, and this is the full chapter I'm going to be reviewing. So if you guys don't want to actually hear about it, then I suggest you click off the video. Don't worry, I'll understand. But for those who are into this stuff and you want to be informed about 296, I'm glad you're sticking around. So if you're new and you want more content similar to this, hit that like button and the subscribe button because you won't be disappointed, I promise. So kicking off chapter 296, which is entitled Extremely Hell, we first see the destruction of the city which the battle had just taken place, and then we see who appears to be Shigaraki talking to himself, noting that the multiple people who had gone up to the front line of the battle, along with the people who were tasked with rescuing the corpses from the destruction, are now on the front lines trying to save everybody. Now, one thing that I do have to note is that once reading through the chapter, you guys will see this soon, Shigaraki is actually dead. He died from this, and the only reason why he's speaking now is because AFO is actually still inside of him. This is his new body, so we were right about predicting that Shigaraki would eventually have his body taken over and used as a new vessel for AFO. It kind of turns out that Shigaraki isn't going to be the one that Deku faces in the end, which is pretty sad, I guess, but you know, AFO has to be defeated somehow. Moving down the page, however, we get an interesting couple of shots of heroes that are actually still alive and moving. The page actually ends up noting that those who could move ended up trying to stop Shigaraki's escape attempt to try and contain him. But we see a member of the Wild Wild Pussycats in action. We also see that washing machine hero, which I just love, in action. And we also see Present Mike. But one thing that I do really find interesting, and the reason why I call this panel interesting in whole, is because the Black Hole hero 13, her face is actually showing through her helmet, which not only tells you how much she's been in battle or how battle damaged her suit is, but we actually get to see her face. I didn't even think that she was a human under there. Honestly, I just thought that it was a suit and nothing else. But hey, you learn something new every day, right? Anyways, further analysis of the page actually shows you the Nomu that are actually headed towards Shigaraki's corpse, and we get to see a huge shot of the city actually being damaged not only by the Nomu, but by other collapsing buildings. Shigaraki/AFO then notes that due to the near-high-end Nomu and their sudden diversion and stun tactics as Shigaraki commanded them to, the heroes had been toyed with, essentially by Shigaraki and extension the Nomus. While 3 of the Nomus were added to the villain's losses, the remaining 7, however, were actually missing in action, and the remaining 7 being from the League of Villains. Although we know what happened to Dabi and Spinner and also Toga. Toga is actually running back to the battlefield, I believe, with tears in her eyes. Shigaraki was asleep during this time, presumably dying during Compress's final act, but we know that Compress is actually dying of his injuries, and Spinner and Dabi are encased within the marbles of Mr. Compress's court. In the next page, we see Gigantomachia and Mr. Compress being detained and hospitalized for his injuries. Now back at the Gunga Mountain Resort, where everything first started happening, we see a battered Redestro standing next to Edshot. We also see a battered Geddon next to an exhausted Cementos, this being after their battle with each other, in which Cementos went all out. And I do have to admit, that's probably one of my favorite battles of this whole thing, because even though we didn't get to see much, it was just a really cool shot of Cementos and Getten using their quirks. We then find out that a bunch of the Paranormal Liberation Front members are actually gathering for a meeting, as well as those who were on the front lines, trying to take back the bodies that were lost. It's then noted that upwards of 16,929 members were actually detained, which is just absolutely insane. I didn't think that the Paranormal Liberation Front ran that deep. Honestly, I thought it was 1,000 at least, not 16,000. And this actually just makes me think further that once the rest of the world gets wind of this, there's definitely going to be more supporters. With this next panel further supporting my claim, as we find out that after Gigantomachia's stampede from Jakku to the actual scene of the battle, there were around 132 missing Paranormal Liberation Front executives, and as for other branches that were spread across the country, their supporters were also overpowered. So I didn't even know that there were other branches of the Paranormal Liberation Front. So like I said before, it just makes me think, what's next, you know? Like there could actually be a worldwide Paranormal Liberation Front army, which gives AFO access to God knows how many quirks. So in the next panel, we then get confirmation as to where Toga is from one of the interns at Ryukyu's agency, telling us that she's somewhere in the vicinity. We then get a shot of more carnage with cries of help coming from under the rubble, and then we see a little kid actually trapped under a collapsing building. It's actually a little sister's brother, and it's actually some interesting dialogue between them, and the big brother says that if the building falls on me, I want you to have my Endeavor pouch. So we see that this is an Endeavor fan, and knowing the trouble that Endeavor eventually gets into, I'm not so sure if this guy guy wants to be a fan of him anymore. And as the little kid screams, "I don't want your stupid pouch, I just want to be with you, my brother," as the building is falling on top of them, we get a nice shot of Ochako and Sue rescuing them with their quirks. Sue then decides to take the hurt boy to a hospital shelter before joining Ochako and going to help some other people. We then cut to a shot of Ochako speaking to a badly damaged man who is trying to direct her to his hurt family and his wife. Ochako then has some inner dialogue and she needs to save everyone that she can. In the next panel, we then get a shot of even more carnage and more people hurt, being carried out on stretchers, being pulled from rubble, and blood-spattered stone. Ochako is exhausted at this point, and then she looks over at a hero that's noting that this was all a big mistake and that maybe he should go find another job, as he's looking at all of the carnage that's in front of him. The panel then cuts to a lifeless hand being held by Mina Ashido as Sato, Momo, and Kirishima join her in crying over the surprising death of our favorite hero, Midnight, with a shot of her visor crushed on the grass. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this wasn't surprising at all, seeing as though Midnight got hit with a pretty big boulder by Mr. Compress just a few chapters ago. My best guess is that she died from blunt force trauma, because after taking a big blow like that, I don't think a lot of people would get up and keep fighting. We then get a piece of interesting dialogue that says Shigaraki had died and the device that was designed to resuscitate him had been destroyed. The electric shock that it sent out was so insignificant that even Exless, who had been beside Shigaraki, didn't even feel it. It wasn't enough to facilitate resurrection. What brought Shigaraki back was his life dreams and his animosity. And it was due to his tenacity that so many lives were lost, as we see a huge shot of all the heroes that died and some that were even injured. R.I.P. Midnight, you will be missed. And just like we all predicted, the city is starting to turn on Endeavor, even while he's knocked out, with some people saying, "Whoa, this isn't for him, is it? Dabi's annoying, but I wonder what Endeavor's gonna do now. Is it true? If it is, this is a big problem. Even during his days as number 2 hero, I always thought he was kinda shady. The job is to protect us, isn't it? What the hell is going on?" Now that the backlash is coming to Endeavor, we can now paint a bigger picture as to what's going to happen to him altogether. He might even be stripped of his number 1 hero status. We then get to see shots of Deku and Endeavor laid out on the floor with some more people talking. Is this what I think it is? Is this really the end? Maybe I should move overseas, but I don't have the money. They better explain themselves come tomorrow. We then get to see a nice shot of the kids from the Pro Hero training arc referencing 5 weenies, which he's talking about Todoroki, I believe, saying that everything will be okay. And now something that we have all been waiting for. That same evening in the prison of Tartarus, we see a shot of the old body of AFO. I feel it. It's slightly outside of expectation, but soon enough. Why would you think that there would be a tomorrow? I won't give you a moment to rest. From here on out, it's still my turn. Now, my Nomus, who know nothing of fatigue, go free my main body. This sets up a perfect scenario in which a prison break arc can happen. People have been speculating that this is going to be it for months, and this is the case. We're getting it. This is the prison break arc. I can't wait until this prison break arc happens. It's going to be a good one, and it looks like they're gearing up for another war. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching and sticking around to this part. And if you do, and like I said before in the beginning of the video, if you want more content like this, then hit that subscribe button. You won't be disappointed, I promise. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.